Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We've gotten a lot of questions at the GMAR over the last couple of weeks about PPP loans. And since it's completely outside of our wheelhouse, we decided to ask an expert to answer some questions. And the GMAR did a PPP loan in January, and we haven't gotten to the forgiveness part yet, but since all the questions that came into the last week dealt with forgiveness, we thought we'd ask an expert. And so I turned to the senior retail business manager at BMO Harris near the GMAR office, Mia Acevedo. And Mia, your mother's actually a realtor, which is kind of nice. So you kind of understand the realtor mentality and the independent contractor thing. So thank you very much for agreeing to do this. And I sent you a list of questions from a few members, but if you want to kind of give us a kind of 20,000-foot view of what the forgiveness program is all about, that'd be great.
Yep. So one of the biggest things that we've managed to deal with the forgiveness is that when the government is ready to start the forgiveness process, they do. Whether you receive an email or some type of notification from us, it does give you the opportunity to then begin the process, start to gather documents. One of the best things that I've uncovered during this process is that if it is like, hey, here's a deadline, it always gets extended or really extended basically for a little bit of a later date to give people time to collect documents, to then report all of the different things that they use the expenses for, the payroll, etc. So I kind of like that because it doesn't put so much of a damper. Okay, I need to get this done right away. The deadline information usually is within that email that they initially send. I know that the forgiveness process was supposed to start in January, then it was supposed to start in February. So if you haven't had the opportunity to begin the forgiveness process for the first round, it's okay. You would have received some type of notification. And I know that they were doing it in spurts. So 150 or greater was receiving one group of emails, and they pushed the 150 or less, or 149.99 if you want to say that, or less, to a different group. But you do get notified directly either from the lender that you're working with for the PPP or the SBA, which is pretty cool. Okay. So I know that was one of the questions that was here. So that was pretty cool to kind of put that in connection. It says one member applied for and received a $6,000 PPP loan for the first round. She isn't sure how to apply for forgiveness. Any insight what she should do? I like this question because it's something that we deal with even if you're unable to get in contact with someone. What I would do is check the email first, because it's mandatory that they send out an email letting them know what the forgiveness is. Not sure if every bank has its own process of how it needs to be submitted via PDF, directly with the email. But there is an option on the SBA website, and actually let me follow up and get that for you, where you can directly fill out the documentation and then send it to them just to complete it. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to find the link for the forgiveness. Well, my computer, the fancy computer that we got, is just taking forever, just a little bit. So let's see if I can get that for you. And a lot of the times, if I didn't have information about the SBA, because say it was delayed, the information that we're receiving, I actually Googled it too. A lot of information I Googled just to make sure that I got it, because maybe, the SBA was one step ahead and they hadn't yet trickled down the information to us. So give me just a second here. But she should have received an email from the bank if they're ready to start the forgiveness process. And for the first round, it should have already begun. And the information is super, super simple. A lot of the same information that you submitted, like the 941s for the employees, the payroll documentation, they're just asking you to verify that. So let's see. I'm just typing the link into my computer here. And actually what I could do, Mike, I can send this to you as well.
Okay, we'll add a link to the video.
Yeah, we can. So PPP forgiveness application SBA.
Now, the PPP is different from the EIDL.
It's not actually. So basically, it is a what's the exact definition? Economic impact disaster loan. So if you think about stimulus payment, and then it's called economic payment, impact payment. So they're actually the same.
Okay.
Yep. The difference between the the disaster loan or the PPP, and then there's a grant that's separate, but the EIDL and the PPP are the exact same. They're the same.
That's interesting.
Yep. I have the link here. I'm actually going to copy it. I'm not on my work computer. I'm on my cell phone. So maybe I can just start an email of a couple links, and then I can send it, attach it for me.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
This is the SBA PPP forgiveness. Okay, got one link down. So that was the answer to number 2. If they're the same, and they are one and the same, just named differently. It says, do we have to fill out a 3508 Schedule A worksheet if we are also filling out the 3508S? When I walked a client through the forgiveness process, her computer didn't allow her to upload documents. It was a little bit slow. She wasn't really 100% certain with the forgiveness process. We actually did it here at the branch. The question that I got was one or the other. It was saying fill out this form or this form, whichever applies to the business. So if you're already filling out the 3508S, it should be sufficient for you all. Okay. Our SBA business loans that we're giving out also forgivable. So this question I'm just a little bit confused about, because the SBA is where we're getting the PPP funding from.
Right.
So it will be one in the same.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
I haven't heard of any other SBA small business loans that are being given out at this time besides the PPP. If there are something, it's a separate entity. We would have to do further research just to see specifically what that product is for that loan.
Yeah, so I think
I
some
thought
people might be confused between like a different SBA loan, maybe they got, prior to the pandemic or something like that. Even a small business loan, which would be completely outside the PPP.
Yeah, completely different. Not sure what the exact terms and conditions would be of that loan. I'm not particular with, but the PPP is the one that I'm familiar with, and that's the one that I know is being given out by the SBA, and we're just basically the holding company to fund it for you all.
Okay.
It says, I see that the doc says you should be given copies of invoices from February 2020 and those during the loan period. Are these just the expenses that we have as realtors and used for our taxes? I would say yes. I know 60% of the PPP loan has to be used for payroll. 40% can be used on expenses, different expenditures that you might have encountered. So yes, I would say yes.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. And then it says, when filling in the forgiveness, do we just use the full amount since we do not have paperwork to show that this was our payroll to pay our bills? So the complete amount is what you want forgiven. That's how I looked at it when I read this question. And then it says, since we do not have paperwork to show this was our payroll to show our bills. So what about the paperwork that you had to supply showing the payroll for everyone in the beginning? That's something that I probably will resubmit again. Not sure if you necessarily need it. When I finished off the forgiveness loan with someone else, they just said, keep these documents a hold of them. They might need them at some point in time. It might not be something that's immediate, but I would resubmit that documentation if they do need it, showing the employee payroll information that you had in the beginning to supply, the reasoning why we would need the loan to begin with. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think because they're independent contractors, they're kind of confused about, okay, how do we justify the expense if they want to use it for payroll or for their own income? How do they justify it?
So you can use the Excel spreadsheet and a Word document explaining what is being documented.
Okay.
And then if necessary, if they ask for supporting documents, then you can use the tax return.
Oh, okay. That's simple. And then the last one was, can you use a Schedule C as part for the loan that they use for the loan docs? I assume that's kind of related to the previous question about using an Excel spreadsheet and tax information. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
You can use all supporting documents. I haven't had a whole lot of clients that weren't using either identical documents or updated documents like the 941s or the Schedule Cs that you have provided for your clients or your customers, the people that are actually getting, I would use those. I would use them if it's being.
Yeah, okay, cool. Good. Is there any other things that you're seeing about people asking for forgiveness that are either unnecessary, they don't need to do, or that people are forgetting about?
Not really. A lot of the people who are doing the forgiveness, they are being notified. So that's a big deal. Please check the email that was used for the initial communication method. That's a big deal. That's the way that the SBA or the lender is communicating to you all. So check the email for that just to make sure that communication that is being given, you're able to be alerted for, you have it available for you. Start the process. If you have any questions, you definitely can call me, because I'm seeing a whole lot. We're getting updates every day from the SBA, the PPP information. So I am here, I'm available to assist, whether it's via email or phone call. That's perfectly fine. If you need the documentation, like I said, I wouldn't really get upset or frustrated if you can't find something right away, because you have time. Especially while they're issuing out the first round and the second round, you have a little bit of time yet. Maybe next year this time, not so much, but for the time being where they're still issuing them out, the second round is still going on until the 31st of May. So you have time. You have time to do it.
Okay, cool. Great. Anything else? Yeah.
Nothing else on my end. Did you have any other questions at all?
I think that pretty much answers it.
Okay.
Again, people can always go to Google as well. That's a pretty good resource.
Yeah, because it's the most recent. That's the only thing. We receive information that's trickled down, whereas Google could kind of give it to us right away. If I see something that I haven't heard about, but like I said, they're really, really good with giving us the latest information, whether it's twice or 3 times a day, we're receiving information about the PPP loan.
Cool. Okay. Well, cool. Well, great. Thank you very much, Mia. I appreciate your time a lot. And thank you to everybody over at BMO Harris for helping us out.
Anytime. We're here to help.
Thanks. Talk to you later.